Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be learning how to make a custom audio player, and we're going to be doing that with React. First thing to mention is that we've also got a server, which is just a node server that will be streaming these audio files to us. And if you want to learn how to make that, I've got a video all about streaming audio and video files, which you can watch here. The first step in doing this will be to actually add our audio player, and so we're going to do that like this. You see here we've got a list of song IDs, which are the IDs for these audio files, and then we've also got a current index, which just stores the current position we are in this array, so that then we can load the song appropriately from our backend server. We also have a audio elements, which we're gonna define these functions later, and so far controls is true, so you'll be able to see that. In our browser you can see that we have just the default audio tag and it works. We can play our music and we also are able to see all the controls. However, it's not beautifully styled or styled in the way we like, so we can change this, and that's what we're going to be doing today. In creating our custom audio element, the next step we want to do is to create our custom play button, and so we'll add this code here, and this simply gets our audio tag by using the query selector. And we also have an isPlaying variable, which will store whether the track is currently playing or not, and then we have a function called play pause. We also have a use effect here that anytime the state of isPlaying changes, it will check if the audio component is mounted, and then it will either play or pause based on whether this has been changed, and so this is going to give us the play pause functionality. The next step will be to add in our actual play button, and we add that here, and you see we've got the icons from hero icons here, and we've just styled those a little, and based on whether it is playing, we're going to show the pause icon, or if not, it's the play icon. And then every time that the button is clicked, then we're going to play or pause. In our browser you can see that we have our audio element here, and when we press our play button, the audio starts playing, and when we pause, it pauses. So we've got a functioning play button. So now it's time to move on to the seeker. In order to create our seeker, we're going to add in a few new variables, and that's the current time, the new time, and is seeking. So what the current time is just the current proportion of the audio that's been played. The new time is the current proportion of the audio that we want to go to, and is seeking just tells us whether the user is actively scrubbing through the track to get to a certain point. The next thing we want to add in is a function that will essentially just update the time once the user has finished moving to a certain part of that, and that's just called update current time, and it sets the audio element's current time to the proportion of its duration, so that we can then move to the correct part of the track. Next, we're going to add in the actual seeker itself, and we'll just place that here next to the play button. And you see what we've got essentially is just a range input, which is a slider, and if it's not seeking, its value is going to be the current time, so that every time the audio plays a little bit, it will be moved, and if it is seeking, then it will be the new time that the user is setting. We've got our min and max as 0 and 1, so that way we can have a proportion. We've just got a step of 0.01. And so when the mouse is down, that means the user has pressed on the element. So we want to say is seeking to true, so that we can now say, yes, the user is trying to move to a new point. And then when it's up, with the mouse up, we then set is seeking to false. So they stop seeking, and then we update the current time. And then every time that the value changes, that's when we want to update the new time, so that by the time it comes to actually updating the current time of the actual audio element itself, we've got an up-to-date value. The final step in this part is now to update our on-time update function for the audio tag. So that means that anytime the user isn't seeking, what we want to do is set the current time to the actual current time, so that then it updates the seeker. We can now go into our browser to test this. In our browser, we can now start playing, and you see that as the time updates here, you can see that our seeker is actually moving along. So we can just grab this and move it to any point we want, and we see it's updating the time. So our seeker is fully functioning, and it's working as we expected it to. The final step in creating our custom audio player will be to make a previous track button and a next track button, so we can paste in all the code that we need for that. And you see for the previous track, what we're going to do is we're going to pause play, and the same thing with the next track. But with the previous track button, we just go to the previous index along, or we go to the end of the array. Whereas with the next track, we go to the next index along, or we go to the start of the array, depending on where we are. Then we also have this use effect here, which is only dependency is current index, and anytime current index changes, so that's whenever we skip tracks, or we go to the previous track, we're just going to set the current time back to 0 again, and we're going to set is playing to true. And so it's just going to reset our playback values and take us back to the start of the track. Next, we'll add in our buttons. So we'll add in our previous track button and our next track button. We're also going to update our unended function here, which is essentially every time playback ends, we're gonna skip automatically to the next track. And then finally, we'll just set controls to false. And then that way we're not going to see the audio tag, but only see the custom audio player that we have made. So now we've opened our browser and you can see here we've got our audio element, and we start playing and you can see that our audio tag is playing and our seeker is updating, and we can seek through. We can go to the next track and it starts playing the music. You can also go back to the previous track, and then if we move it to the very end of the track and just wait for it to end, you see that we've automatically now moved to the next track. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will leave some documentation links below so you can explore more, because there's far more you can do with this. For example, you can create a volume slider. You can also change the speed at which playback occurs. So if you're interested in that, I have left it below. There will also be the code linked below. If you like this, please like it and consider subscribing and sharing. Thank you for watching.